Okay, hello and welcome back to Two Chapters a Day. We're continuing with The Eye of the World. So today I'm going to talk about chapters 17 and 18. And once again, these were chapters that I really liked and made me want to continue reading the story. So I'm happy that it's finally kind of starting to roll forward and I'm starting to enjoy it more. So a quick recap. Um, at the end of last chapter, Nynaeve had come to Baerlon and accosted Moraine, and basically she wants to take everybody home where she feels like they belong. And Moraine says, no, it's not safe. They have to keep coming with me. The big reveal was that Nynaeve I'm pretty sure knows that Rand was born outside of the Two Rivers and that Moraine is investigating as to whether or not any of the boys were born outside of the Two Rivers. So, moving on to the current chapters, um, it picks up a little while later in the night. There's merrymaking in the inn. Tom Maryland's performing, everything's good. There is a small bit where Rand keeps noticing this stranger that's staring at him, and I think the stranger has a scar over his face. And Rand is like, you know, I was kind of staring and I feel bad, but now he's really staring at me. And I don't think that's resolved at the end of the chapter who this stranger was. But the way it was written, the whole little sequence kind of reminded me of that scene in The Fellowship of the Ring where they're at the Prancing Pony and Strider is like really intently looking at them from across the room and kind of watching until they screw up, which they do. And so I'm wondering if maybe this stranger is watching for the same reason or if there's something more nefarious going on. I guess we'll find out. So, uh, everything's like hunky dory and until they go to bed, and Rand happens upon, I guess is a good way of saying it, an actual fade. And it's like, whoa, a fade in the flesh. What are we gonna do? Um, and so immediately they evacuate. They evacuate the inn and they leave with the intention of evacuating the city. So they get to the gates, and the guy at the gate is like, "Oh, sorry, can't let you out. Gates are closed until sunrise." What? What kind of a place is this? And so Moraine, like very slyly, is like talks him into letting them out. And right when they are like have the gates halfway opened, here come the white cloaks, which, if you'll recall, we talked about in the last video about how they would probably show up. And sure enough, here they are. So the white cloaks come and basically try to stop our merry band from leaving. And they almost do until Moraine like does some Aes Sedai magic and wards them off. And in the meantime, she also grows to be taller than the city walls. And as one of the characters put it, I think it was Rand, like, or maybe Egwene, she is taller than a giant. And she literally steps over the walls to get out, whereas like the rest of our band just goes out the gates. She's so tall, all of a sudden that she steps over the walls. So like, what is this Aes Sedai like pageant? Aes Sedai like magic and power? I want to know more because I feel like every time we see a little bit more of Moraine's abilities, I just walk away from that section feeling a little bit more confused and intrigued as to what exactly she can do. Oh, so they are now outside of the town and they look back and they see that what is probably the inn is on fire. And this was a section that I really appreciated. It's sad because this innkeeper's inn has been set on fire, I think, by they decided the minions of the Dark One. Um, I don't think it was the White Cloaks. And they are talking about how if they weren't there, then the innkeeper would not have lost his inn. So, like, you've got Nynaeve on one side saying, if you just let me take them back last night, uh, that man would still have his inn, and why can't we go and do something to help? And you have Moraine saying, well, yes, if we weren't there, the inn would still be there and the innkeeper would still have his livelihood. But if we go back, it's just going to make it worse. And, there's just going to be this whole snowball effect of more bad things happening if we go back than if we just leave now. I'll send them money later to make up for the inn burning. And like I said, I just really appreciated this little conversation scene because it really is kind of a gray thing. Like, you feel responsible for this, but if you go back, it's just going to make it worse, and you can't undo it. Even though Nynaeve is right, if they weren't there, it probably wouldn't have happened. So yeah, I just really appreciated that conversation, that kind of morally gray area that intrigues me, that kind of stuff. All right, so then we have chapter 18, which I really enjoyed. And in this chapter, they're kind of trying to devise a plan on what to do next. So they are still being followed by the Fade, and also now they think they're being followed by a band of trollocs. So Lan and Moraine, well, Lan makes this plan, I think, much to Moraine's chagrin, that he's going to go off and kind of investigate what's going on. And as he goes, she says something. What does she say? The light go with you, last Lord of the Seven Towers. And the only person that hears this is Rand. And so now, not that Lan has seemed unimportant, because clearly he's important, but this little section makes me wonder, like, who exactly is Lan? Not really sure what a warder is at this point in the book, but I feel like maybe he's not just like some ordinary warder. He is clearly more important, I think, than we are being led to believe currently. Uh, and kind of in that same vein of people being important and us not knowing much, more is revealed in this chapter. So, chapter 18 really is kind of like a battle chapter. So, Lan goes off and he discovers that there are not just a few trollocs following them, but I think 500. So, yikes, not good. And he comes back and they end up like kind of coming head to head into blows with the trollocs, I think, because I'm not really sure. I think it seems like maybe they just can't get around them and like they're closing in on them. So anyways, they come head to head with the Trollocs, and it's this big, like, epic battle scene for the people from Eamon's Field, because they've certainly never been in a battle or anything resembling a battle before. Um, and And as they're charging the Trollocs, they all yell, Manetheren! Manetheren! And it's like this great war cry. And if you remember, because I did not, and I had to go back and like reread in the past, Manetheren is kind of the ancient civilization forefathers of the people that live in Two Rivers now. And so Rand and Perrin both give that Manetheren war cry, and Matt gives a war cry of a different kind in like this foreign language. And I'm not even going to try to say what it is because I'm afraid I'll butcher it. um, so he gives this war cry in another language, and afterwards, when what they do is they defeat the Fade, and that kind of renders the rest of the army inert, and they get out of Dodge and start making their way elsewhere. And then they're all talking about like, Matt, what was that you said? And he's kind of like, huh, I'm not really sure. And Egwene pipes in and says, for a moment I thought I understood you, but maybe I didn't. And now Moraine, in typical Moraine fashion, comes in and reveals that what Matt had said was uh, the ancient war cry of Manetheren in the Manetheren King. And it was about, he was saying, we're doing this for the honor of the Rose of the Sun, which was what that king had been called. And so that's interesting for a couple of different reasons, I feel like. One, how did Matt just know this like foreign language? Um, and two, is he somehow related to this like fallen king? Because I feel like Maureen kind of alludes to that maybe when she says later on in the chapter, the blood of the old kings is still strong in Two Rivers. So, the plot thickens, I guess. Um, and then the chapter ends with them making their way to this like magnificent looking but deserted city called Eridhol, which was also an ally of Manetheren once upon a time long ago. So, yeah, that's the end of chapters 17 and 18. And a lot happened. Um, like I said, the plot kind of thickened. And one last thing that I'm going to mention is that I've not really been paying attention to chapter names or um, the artwork at the beginning of the chapters. But for the first time, chapter 18, the artwork, which I'll try to pop up here, the artwork caught my eye. And I think that I will start paying more attention to those from now on to see. I don't know that the artwork of the chapter, I don't know that I can relate it to really like to anything that happened in the chapter, but it seemed interesting. So something I'll pay attention to. Anyways, that is chapters 17 and 18, and tomorrow I'll be back with chapters 19 and 20. If you're reading along or you've read before, let me know your thoughts down below, and thanks for watching.